the banner. And hello, welcome to episode 56. My name is Bruce. This is my only hands account, and my co-host with me tonight is Janet from another planet. How are you tonight, Janet?
I'm good.
Fantastic. I am having a great Memorial Day. I hope you had a good Memorial Day as well. I'd like to say Happy Memorial Day for all of our viewers, past and present and future. I wanted to just say that really not a thing that you say Happy Memorial Day to people, but that's
well, it is in a way because I know a lot of people who have lost loved ones, but all the people who died before the people we knew, they gave us freedom. We should be happy for the freedom that they sacrificed their lives to give us. You know what I mean? I'm not happy that they're dead, but to remember them for giving us freedom and helping us stay free. And I'm happy that I'm free. So that I don't live somewhere where I'm a slave to someone.
That's kind of where I'm at on things. I'm trying my best to keep that in mind. You know, this is not a day for me or for young ones. This is one where we kind of like try to slow down and be thankful. We've got freedoms. We've got. Don't forget the guys that died needlessly in Afghanistan, and those that died under the guise of peace when there wasn't peace going on. But we're talking about a movie, and thankfully we can do that because of these freedoms. We're talking about a movie came out in 2003, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The last movie that Sean Connery is ever in.
Yeah. I see that we have a historian.
By making this movie. It made him hate making movies.
Yeah, so he hated films after this.
Sean
Connery,
a very bad experience for him behind the scenes, because I think he did an excellent job in front of the camera to not have that come across to us as we were watching it. So.
Was it Stephen Northington that was the director?
I think so. It says on this paper that I'm reading, it says that what was his? Hold on, I'm gonna find his name again. Alan Moore.
Alan Moore wrote the comic book.
He said he wanted his name taken off of it. So there was a lot of people upset about the way this movie was made and how it's put together, because they just threw things in that didn't belong, and little things like that, which I'm very thankful that I didn't know as much about it as I do now, because I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much when I got to see it.
I went to the theater with my dad to see this, and we really liked it.
I loved it. I thought it was really good. I mean, it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen with Sean Connery in it, but I thought it was a great movie. It was very exciting, but I love all those type of things that was in it, the vampires and the intrigue and the excitement behind that type of stuff with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, all those different characters I really loved. And the fact that they were going to call this movie, hold on, let me see, it said they had a different name for this movie, and they changed it to Gentlemen because it fit London, basically, in the era, the time that it was supposed to be being made in the 1800s. So Gentlemen is why they changed that one name from Gentlefolk or something like that to Gentlemen, which was fine. And I don't think it's against women or anything, even though there's a woman in the league, to call it Gentlemen. So I think I'm not a feminist.
I completely concur. We can tell by your manner of dress tonight that you are honoring
The beautiful vampire in the movie, yeah, Mina. So I thought she was, but she's the only woman, so I had to be somebody.
yeah,
Um,
I can get
I
it.
guess I could have been a townsfolk, but you really didn't see many of them that didn't have buildings falling on them or something.
No,
So,
we didn't really have that. We didn't have a whole lot of shots of the townsfolk of
and
London.
I don't think there was any women inside the submarine either. I don't remember seeing a single woman inside the submarine. So all the Turkish people that were wearing the turbans and stuff were all men that I could tell.
Okay, Flady has a question that part of me wants to laugh out loud about because he's like, how long before they reboot this and wreck it? And like this okay, he obviously did not think that this was a wreck of a movie.
Well, I thought it was good. I mean, it wasn't until I started reading about it to do this review that how much bad blood there was behind the scenes. I mean, there were so many people fighting left and right, and a lot of it had to do with the American that they brought in to draw American crowds. They were worried they had to do something to get a hot young stud, to be a character on this movie, or they weren't going to get Americans to buy tickets. So that was another of the big problems that they had behind the scenes that we didn't know about. And he was a cutie pie too. So
Just I'm going to ask you not to focus on the scenes where he's handling the rifle or the shotgun. I really don't.
I know how you are about that.
He's see the reason why was that they were supposed to bring in Tom Sawyer after Huck Finn was murdered by the Phantom.
Yeah, they cut that out.
And they omitted that. And like as much as to answer Flady's question, I hope they don't do a reboot, but this is not really the same story as what you get when you get the 6-issue comic from or volume 1 of Alan Moore's classic. But this is a very interesting tale. The movie itself is fantastic, in my opinion. Is
Yeah,
it a great movie?
the special effects, the makeup, I thought all of it was just beautiful. I just loved it. The scenes from supposed Africa, and everything I just thought were beautiful. The clothing, I just absolutely love the clothing in this era. I just loved it, and the beautiful submarine, and the Nautilus, and the beautiful car that they use in it. I mean, all of that stuff is just so. It made me think about what it would be like in a real submarine with the propellers that they had. I don't know what they call it, propellers or not, but
It had actual screws on it. It looked like.
yeah, they were just really. It was very, very futuristic for the 1800s, and the fact that these books came out way, way back then to have so much cool stuff in it that could be futuristic, like the submarine and stuff like that. I just thought was just really made my imagination just go crazy. I just loved that. And I loved the actor that played Nemo. I mean, I remember reading that book when I was a little girl, and I just loved it. It was so wondrous, and things of the ship, the whole ship and everything. I just thought it was just so cool. And to actually get to see it again made me think about all that and how futuristic it was to me from my imagination. I just thought it was phenomenal. Even the inside scenes of the submarine made me think and the feeling of it made me feel like it was a submarine. And the little hatch doors, that's what was so cute, was when they pulled up along the deck and everything, and these doors open, and they were so thin. And I was just wondering how that would keep the pressure from crushing them like a tin can.
It really wouldn't, but those.
I know, but it was still how I just remember watching it and never not thinking about any of those things the first time I saw it, and to see it this time and really notice, how wow, that just doesn't that doesn't seem plausible, but it was still good. I still loved it. I thought it was great.
I watched this movie with the same non-critical eye as I watched Death Wish 3. Okay. Mm-hmm. I recognize that while I really enjoy Death Wish 3, the moment I start to pull it apart and start to just like flay it and figure out, okay, well, who's got good gun discipline, who here knows how to handle weapons, who here and the extras does not. And I start discerning, like, all right, well, here's the pyrotechnics of this scene. I start doing the same thing with this movie, and the movie falls apart. Mm-hmm. So I don't look at the thickness of the doors. I don't look at certain things which the director had an idea, and he had a director of photography. Mm-hmm. And the director then had problems with Mr. Sean Connery. I believe one of the stories I read about was where they were just walking down the dock in London trying to pull a Magnificent Seven vibe, and it didn't quite fit. It didn't quite, sell the way it wanted to. So the director asked for them to repeat the shot, and Sean Connery's like, "Excuse me, I think we walked just fine." And they're like, "Mr. Connery, for $15 million, please walk another 800 feet." and that between those two men, the director and Mr. Connery, they never did a live action film again. In fact,
I was trying to find the director's name. I cannot remember.
I believe. Also,
Stephen Northington. This is what I found. It said, had such a bad experience making the film that he announced he would never direct another movie, and so far he hasn't. So, and even worse, Sean Connery became so disenchanted with movie making process. Afterwards, he announced his retirement. Except for some voiceover work, despite a few offers, he's never appeared on screen again until his death in 2020. So the experience was so bad on this movie that he never acted again. And to see someone like Sean Connery taken out by a movie that I liked, it's really sad. I mean, if he was in a movie like the one I was telling you about that I couldn't stand, I always call it the wrong name. The one with the animated pizza characters.
You're talking about Willy's Wonderland?
Yeah, Willy's Wonderland. If he was in that
movie, you can get it straight.
It was so bad. It's like my mind doesn't want to remember it. But if he was in a movie that horrible, I could see why he would want to be in another movie. But this movie I thought was so good. It just breaks my heart that so many people had so many problems with it,
It's all stuff that happened behind the scenes. In front of the scenes, this movie, for some odd reason, I hear negativity about this film every time I mention it. I get a chat going about it tonight. And thank you all 9 of you on YouTube. Thank you for the 5 of you on Rumble that are watching. Thank you for showing up. When I have this movie in discussion, people are talking about it, how it's a guilty pleasure film, how they like it, how they like to just enjoy the movie for the popcorn feature it is. Shut up. Don't think too hard about it. Just enjoy the fact that we get to see a really cool idea of Victorian era superheroes gathered together in the defense of Western civilization. Roll with it, Bruce. And I'm like, fine, I can do that.
Me too. I mean, it was very easy because what kid didn't grow up loving one of these characters? I was always a huge vampire fanatic. So, just having a woman, but it was interesting the fact that they used her as a chemist. I thought that was a very unique perspective for her.
I wish she would have gone further on her chemistry. On the actual, if she would have just like spouted a few lines of dialogue to flaunt her Oxford collegiate upbringing, or her erudite mind processes, I would have appreciated that more. I do want to also add real quick before Janet steps on me. Hungar the Starvarian for $2 says, Janet looks awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I wanted to have a reddish. This is the reddish wig I have, so I wanted to make sure I was close to her as the vampire, even though I don't have the teeth, but I do have the hair now. And I tried to make my outfit a little bit close to the one she was wearing when she gets stabbed in the bed, except I wanted to show a little, cleavage.
I really like this here. We're talking about how Sean Connery has one quote unquote bad experience with movies, and he quits the entire industry at the age of 73.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other movies in his repertoire that, like Sir, what was it, Sir Gawain or Sir Galahad and the Green Knight, Zardoz, which is a feature we will be discussing here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really bad Sean Connery films out there. Listen, guys, when there's not an Empire Strikes Back on the horizon, you might want to think about dropping your standards down to help pay the mortgage, okay? And Sean Connery, there was not a whole lot that he would not do for film. I mean, he would. Is it pornography? If it's pornography, that's a no. But if it's not pornography, it's a yes.
Well, he did say no to his character Quartermain being a drug addict. He said he would not do the part
let himself be a drug addict
if he was a drug addict. So they took that out of the script.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is they give Tom Sawyer 2 pistols, and he's trying to John Woo his way through the streets of London.
Yes.
If you can't do it with one bullet, put the goddamn gun away. I love that.
I loved it too. I thought it was very good. But I like the fact that they gave him a fatherly relationship with the young man, simply because of the fact that he supposedly lost his son and he felt responsible for it. So I thought that was a little good personable thing to add to the 2 characters, to bring them closer together, especially since at the end, the way it ends. So it gave you a little, I don't know, it pulled at your heartstrings when that scene happens and he's able to shoot the bad guy from such a far distance because of his mentor. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like that part.
The actor that they picked, though, fuck. They couldn't have gotten a guy that could hold a gun steady for a camera shoot. I mean, the kids got it in hand, and
he's not John Wick.
he's no Keanu Reeves. Hey, Bush McFadden. Wolf 10 Media, appreciate you dropping those quotes in the chat, by the way, because that really does hit at the heart of this movie, which it actually has a really good heart to it. Talking about the discussion of Tom Sawyer and the fact that he doesn't really have somebody. I mean, he has Jim, but Jim's really not a fatherly figure.
Yeah, and it was kind of sad, though, that he is supposedly, a CIA agent, and he didn't know how to really handle a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, accuracy by volume is America.
But that was okay. I was able to get past that because I thought he was so darn adorable. And that I just overlooked that part of it. And plus, I just loved the whole concept of the whole thing with them using the hunter Quartermain to track down the elusive terrorist beast of shit. What was his name again?
Talking about Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They were tracking down Mr. Hyde, and that's why they needed him. So basically, that was his skill of a hunter. They will hunt anything, supposedly, and that's what they needed him for. So, and they were able to get him. And I thought the actor that did that character, I just loved the way they did that whole thing. I just thought it was very unique, very intense, and very believable for me, for my recollection of what I remembered Jekyll and Hyde might be from reading the stories. So I liked it. I thought it was really good.
If you live in Indiana, Illinois, well, not really Indiana, but if you live in Illinois, Missouri, Mark Twain novels are kind of what the library forces the public schools to shove on the kids. So when we see Tom Sawyer first come out and say who he is, I immediately thought there was like 4 Tom Sawyer novels that came out in total by Mark Twain, and 2 of them were Tom Sawyer as an adult, basically, and they're not bad. Are they worthy of reading to your kids at night? Well, they're a hell of a lot better than letting a drag queen read to them.
It's better than letting Major Payne read you a story.
I like Major Payne. Just not as much as I thought I did. We could have tied him in with the Tom Swift Jr. novels. Could have. There were so many good options, and the fact that if if we can just say that this movie was inspired by the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen fan or a comic book, and it was written by somebody who didn't have a good grasp, but I would be a lot happier. But the Northington just did not really have a good grasp of the comic evolution. Back in the day, there used to be whole web pages doing EFAP discussions, and I mean a pause every or a frame every pause, or it just like they would do one panel a week, and people would discuss that panel. And this happened a lot on the geek web, that I call it, because you would have these guys that they would just fight over Alan Moore shit. They wouldn't go anywhere else. They'd be, well, you know, they'd post up their turns for diplomacy and what they were doing with their Twilight Imperium board game. And then they would, you know, retreat off the internet because, well, fuck, there's girls there. We can't do that. But it was a very interesting discussion to see these guys discuss that. And then when the movie came out on opening night, you have all these grognards, all these big beardy guys that look like my friend James and Hungar. And the movie starts, and like they start grumbling throughout the whole thing because this doesn't really follow the comic book events. Like Sean Connery should be playing an opium addict, and he's like, "I'm 73. I'm not going to play drug addict at 73." Which I can understand that to a point, but now we've lost the essence of Quartermain, and we're not really seeing Harker do what she did in the comic book so much, because she was kind of the one that helped nurture him back, get his humanity back to him. Anyway.
Well, the whole thing is that I like the fact that they, for people who weren't really into any of the, you know, certain books or didn't read all the different characters' stories, that they gave little backstories on each of them. You know what I mean? So not everything, but little bits here and there to make you not know whether they should trust each other or not. And the way that they made everyone think that Skinner was the one that was, you know, the one sneaking around getting information from people, you know, or the samples or whatever that they needed. So I thought all of that was pretty good. And the whole scene at Dorian Gray's home, I thought that was just really exciting. And the fact that all these people were able to sneak in up on the second floor in his library with nobody knowing, I thought that was very...
That's kind of far-fetched.
Well, I know, but that was interesting because we didn't know whether it was magical. We didn't know what was behind any of it. You know, who this M was, or who this the bad guy was. You know, what was he really looking for? What really wanting to start a world war? I mean, we didn't know. We were all guessing. You know, for the first time that we watched it, and that they were bringing this group of people together because they had certain skills that they thought would be needed to stop this world war. So I thought all of that was really intriguing and great, how they like put this group together to, like you said, one of my favorite comic books sets right now is a series of 6 comic books. It's called The Midnight Suns. So it's basically a group a lot like this one that fight the dark arts. And it's got a lot of good characters that I love, like Morbius, and Doctor Strange helps a little bit. And then you've got Hellstrom and just a few other characters, and Blade. So, and they all fight, you know, the dark arts side of the comic book world. But this one was based on a comic book, and it was basically the same thing. It had a bunch of, you know, a vampire, and you had the Invisible Man. And then you had Dorian Gray that could live forever as long as he didn't try to destroy his painting. So there were little differences in the movie, but I didn't think they were so bad or so, you know, far-fetched that it took too much away from the characters. So I thought they were still really, really intriguing and very good on how they put them together and had them work together in the movie.
As far as the movie is concerned, just being a movie, is it a faithful translation? Probably not. Is it a fun translation? Probably the best we're going to get. And I know that sounds disappointing for some, but the Boosh McFadden kind of hits on the head. It was like, oh, there's spoilers ahead, but we've got only so much we can put into a 90-minute film if they're going to only let us do 90 minutes. If there was a director's cut of the movie that was 2 hours long, personally, I would appreciate it because we would go deeper into characters. We would actually probably see some things that were filmed that were not put into the final cut.
Yeah, the opening scene where you get to see the really cool tank that comes through the wall, and then the way the police officers react because they don't know what it is, and that one guy just stands here and lets it run over him. I thought that was kind of comical, but it was almost like a Keystone Cop scene, for a little bit of comic relief, but it was still intriguing because it was advanced technology that they didn't really have. And I thought it was really cool. Very, in a way, kind of sci-fi-ish for me.
I was in Gibraltar back in '95 before we started sailing around and doing other stuff. But we stopped there for about 2 nights, and one of my friends got a little bit buzzed, and one of the bobbies came and pretty much tried removing him from the scene, and he decided that he didn't want to leave yet, and the bobby whaps out that little club, and I just see exactly how good they are with that club. So I'm watching this movie again, and the costumes have changed a little bit, not a whole lot, but I got a lot of joy out of seeing that tank run over the bobby, and I'm like, man, this adverse, that guy, he didn't know any better. He'd never seen a tank before, and my dad and I talked about that on the way home. But that scene where the tank runs over the cop, in 1890, probably a lot of people would have tried, doing that same thing until they realized they don't care. They're not stopping. They've got a lot of horsepower between them, and your 200-pound body is not going to be enough to stop it. And that, I shouldn't take so much joy in it, but I did feel sorry for my sailor buddy who got beaten in the head with one of those bobby sticks, and then you see a special effect of a tank running over a bobby. He's like, all right, I'm good now. I know that sounds terrible, but Wolfton Media says, think about it. Joss Whedon took the plot from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and adapted it to his Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And then Sick Nation says, how different would the film be if Moriarty as Fu Manchu were to have happened? That, like I said, 2-hour film. It could have been a great 2-hour movie. And I think even with my complaints about the special effects being really bad CGI, which I think it is, I think it would still make a great movie.
The only part to me that took away from it for me, for the scenes or whatever, was the part where the city was collapsing in, because it looked like a model to me in some of those scenes. But the whole thing with the car driving through this tiny streets in Venice, I thought was really, really good. I thought they did now the whole crashing into the walls and things like that, it had to have been made of some kind of metal that was not regular metal. But it was a futuristic thing, that was created by a scientist that was able to make that submarine and use solar panels. They talk about that the solar charging panels and things like that. I just thought that was just really cool for Nemo to be able to do that. And my childhood memories of Nemo, that's what I would think he'd be able to do, is to be able to create the little nautiloid, that the pod, that escape pod, that for him to get out, to be able to use. I thought that was just all really cool. And I feel sorry for all the people and the rest of the people in the submarine, because they wouldn't be able to escape, but at least he would be able to. And the fact that Dorian Gray could get on it and use it when supposedly he didn't know that much about it, but somebody had already spied on them enough to be able to get that information for him to be able to get on it and go back to wherever he was going to take the stuff that he had taken. So I thought it was interesting.
There's some special effects in this movie that look really bad, and I think they put a lot of money onto a lot of the close-ups of Hyde to make him look amazing, and they succeeded. It still holds up in 2023. 20 years later. That was a really well done scene.
Yeah, I loved Hyde. I thought Hyde was one of my very favorite characters in this besides Mina. I really liked her because I can't help it. I really love vampires, and I thought she was beautiful. And I thought her scenes where she was able to attack the people and things like that were what I would expect from a vampire. So I thought she did, and I love the fact when she fights the guy in Dorian's library, and then she stops and whips out her mirror really quick and is wiping the blood off her face like a lady. You know, I just thought that was just so awesome. I know it sounds really stupid, but I just thought that seemed like somebody back then on the proper way how a lady's supposed to sit and cross her legs, and you know, all those little things that women were taught to do back then, especially women with money, you know, with means. I just think that that is exactly what someone in her position probably would have done if she was to attack someone and not want to have you know, blood all over her face to make it noticeable. I thought that was really cool.
Peta Wilson or Peta Wilson, however you pronounce her last name, she is a very accomplished actress.
Mm-hmm.
She got on my radar because of the old La Femme Nikita movie.
Mm-hmm.
The La Femme Nikita. And then later on, Bridget Fonda redid that kind of poorly. And I'm not knocking Bridget Fonda. It's not really her fault. It's the American media for forcing us to have a remake of something that was made a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now we're getting a remake of La Femme Nikita, which we didn't need. I was happy with Peta Wilson, and I always am happy with Peta Wilson because I find her to be a really good actress. And she does physical acting fairly well, too. If they would allow her to have a rig and then just CGI the wires out, I would have been happier with that than do the bad effects of her trying to crawl up a wall. I thought that was probably one of the weakest things in the film, between that and the Dorian turning into a pile afterwards. But excuse me. The powder that he got, and he was brushing off his chest at the start of the film when he shows off that he's basically immortal. That was bad. That's probably my worst Dorian effect right there. But I'm not trying to knock this movie CGI so much, because this movie, after a period of time, the director was not into it. The director has, got a lot of pushback from one of his leads. The people are not happy with it. The studio is causing a lot of grief. The designer of the comic book has his name stricken from the credits. This is not a movie that will go down. I mean, he almost didn't put his name on it. It almost was an Alan Smithy film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
but you got to remember, this movie was made over 20 years ago. So how far along was the technology for CGI? I mean,
okay, I'm just going to say one thing. Return of the King came out the same year. The elephants still look fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just saying they had to pick and choose where they thought they needed the CGI most. And I think that they focused on the characters a little more than they worried too much about some of the other aspects of it. But considering it was made 20 years ago, I've seen some movies recently that CGI wasn't, was very good. And I'm sure they spent way more money on it this time. So all I can say is that that didn't take it away from me, except for the one scene this time. Now, when I first saw it the first time, I don't remember thinking any of it was bad. It seemed very plausible, everything that I remembered seeing in it. But this time, because I was looking for things, the scenes where the buildings were collapsing and stuff in the city, that was noticeable to me, that it was not very good CGI.
But this movie had some great practical effects, and I could tell they spent a lot of money on the sub and the car.
Yes, definitely.
I'm not a car guy like I'd like to be, but the Nautilus car was amazing. It is an automobile.
Yeah, that's it. You remember seeing that actor that played Nemo in anything after this movie?
No, I don't. But he, when they were filming this movie in India, somebody recognized him, and they had gone out to eat. The restaurant owner noticed who he was, confirmed that's who he was. And so basically Captain Nemo facilitated a all expense paid dinner at a very nice restaurant in India because they understood who he is. He had the dress right, he had the turban right, he had everything proper. And he went in costume out in the town, as you should if you're in a foreign land and you guys have done your homework on your outfits. The people recognized exactly who he was, and they figured what was going on because that's Sean Connery. He's an American. He was 007 30 years ago. So it, yeah. And Bush, when I saw the Point of No Return, I was told, I didn't see the title of the film, I didn't see the title card, but I recognized it as La Femme Nikita after about 5 minutes of watching, and I get dumbed down version of La Femme Nikita, which that'd be like watching the Sesame Street version of The Professional with, instead of Natalie Portman, I get insert child, what's her name? Billie Eilish. So I don't want to see that. No, I do not want to see a remake of The Professional with Billie Eilish as the young girl that befriends the hitman. No, I don't want that. Okay, but this movie is just got a lot of really good pieces to it. Some of them come together really well. And like I said before, this is a guilty pleasure film for not just myself. This is a guilty pleasure film for a lot of individuals I'm discovering along the same quality of movie as, like, you're going to get upset, but Heartbreak Ridge or Death Wish 3 or name a not so great John Wayne film, but we all like it. You know, like, I mean, you understand where I'm coming from. While there's problems in this movie, and this movie has some technical difficulties, there are parts of this film that you just kind of don't even worry about. You just glaze past it because, okay, so the city looks like shit when it's collapsing. But now all of a sudden we've got this scene between Tom Sawyer and Alan Quartermain, and somebody in our group that came with us to the theater is damn near having a mental breakdown as they're like, man, I wish I could have a dad like Alan Quartermain instead of having my father have gone, you know, for cigarettes and scratchers and he never came back.
Yeah.
You know, this is literally one of those films that will cause one of your friends to have that situation happen to them where they're like,
that's what I'm saying. That whole concept pulled me in for those two characters to root for them, because of him losing a son, and he talks about it, and then the fact that he's a young man, he looks up to him because he knows who he is and he knows about his history, and you know, what young man doesn't want a mentor that is, you know, wow, my hero, you know, that type of thing. I just thought it was really good. And just like all of us that love comic books, like, you know, I love Wonder Woman and Superman, and I love Wolverine, you know, I can't help it. I just absolutely love these characters because I grew up reading the comic books. So to get to meet somebody that's like that and get to spend time with them and have them teach me how to use a gun or something, anything like that to me would be, it's any childhood fantasy to get to meet your hero in person and have them give you a hands up, or, you know, to help you out is to me is something that any kid would want to see in a movie. We just don't have enough of that anymore, mentors in movies anymore. It's like, I don't know, it's like they're not allowed to have a hero in a movie today. So I just thought it was really good. I liked the whole aspect of it. But see, here the whole time I was so enthralled with Nemo, just because I just remembered how excited I was just to get to read that story, because I just thought it was so cool. Just like when I watched Star Trek with my dad, everything that was happening, that was possibly one day I could actually see a real transporter or a real submarine, you know, that uses solar panels to charge up, and just stuff like that. I just thought was just so cool. I just was into that. I was just really into that. So to me, that's what I was drawn to. But I think it had little aspects of all types of things to draw certain people in, because I think certain things from this movie had something for everyone. There was action, there was violence, There was intrigue, a little bit of romance between Dorian and Mina. So it had a lot of different stuff in it to attract a different person in it. And as a woman, I didn't even look at it as a guy's movie or anything like that. I was just excited to see it simply because it had the monsters in it. And I had different people, that could be heroes and put them together as a team. I just thought it was awesome. That's what made me want to go see it. So, it has everybody, I think.
What made me want to go see it was the fact my dad says there's a new movie coming out and it looks really good. And I thought, really? And he's like, it's called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and it has that cute blonde you like. That's how my dad describes Petta Wilson. He couldn't tell you the difference between her and the lady that did Species, Natasha Henstridge. Okay, I love my dad, I do, but my father, there's some things that, like, if I was trying to describe Natasha Henstridge, it sounds just like Petta Wilson to him. He's like, whatever, And I'm sure that, like, if he was trying to, describe to me a 12-year-old or 10-year-old boy the difference between Mae West and Marilyn Monroe, I wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I guess it is between the two of us. But he's like, it's got a cute blonde you like, and we went and go see it, and we both really enjoyed this film. This is a really good movie to watch if you've got a young man in your house and you want to watch something that's mostly wholesome, because this movie has its innuendos in it. But it's not a movie filled with sex, lots of blood and gore, and NC-17 Paul Verhoeven style violence.
It leaves a lot to the imagination, and that is what I'm saying. Those types of movies I love. I love a movie that everyone can leave and have a sense of fulfillment because they didn't try to fill in every single gap. You know what I mean? Because when you read a book, your imagination fills in all the holes. And that's what's so exciting. And that's why it's so hard for a movie to top a book, because you can't fill in every gap of something that you've read. So that's what I liked about it. It gave you, like when they look over and they're fighting in the bedroom, Dorian and Mina, and he goes, does that bring back any memories and just things like that. They didn't have to put all that in there because you could just use your imagination and see the two lovers or whatever. You didn't have to have actual flashbacks to see them doing that, to know what they were talking about. So I just like that. I wish they did that a little more and let people's imaginations fill in the gaps, and then there wouldn't be so many people griping and complaining about how it wasn't as good as the book or something like that. Because to me, they try to fill in every single thing, and that's what they overdo it, I think.
I'm going to recommend you, whenever you get if you have like $100 lotto ticket money, or like you have an unexpected like $100 windfall, then pick up the book, the first volume, the first 6 issues of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There's an omnibus out there, I believe, that with your discerning eye, you're probably going to recognize a lot of the faces you see in each of the panels. There are still websites up that have all the discussion from the late 90s, early 2000s, where people are damn near fighting with each other, asking for addresses for fisticuffs and drive-by shootings because you dare insult their historical knowledge. And there's a lot of historical figures displayed on the pages of this series of books. Part 2 kind of goes along the lines of Martian Invasion, which I don't really recommend it because it ends in a not so happy way for us, but it's a good read. But I'm just going to say that pick up The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Volume 1, and you're going to find a story that you're going to understand why I'm a little frustrated, but not real frustrated. Because if we were to take just Iron Man himself and say, we're doing an Iron Man movie in 2008, what do? Well, we do the origin story, and then we have to figure out a bad guy in the last hour, 5 minutes. So you really can't slam all these Marvel comic books into one 90-minute adventure. You have to
Mhm.
figure out what to do and how to edit and how to try to put pieces of other story threads in there just to satisfy the fans and Easter eggs for certain directors. And don't forget the audio because there has to be a Wilhelm scream. But it's really a an interesting setup on how he decided to let the scriptwriter build up for this movie.
Mhm.
As a movie, I love this film, and I'm going to be happy to be held to record for it. I do love this movie. It's not just the fact that this movie is flawed beyond belief. It's not just the fact that there's so many problems behind the scenes between the director, the studio, the actors. It's everything about this film. This is like we're looking for a holy grail, each and every one of us. There's something that each of you are looking for in a chat. Janet, she's looking for something in her life. Bruce is looking for, I don't have to look for it. If I'm looking for a movie to entertain me, this is actually one of those films I could put on and just paint miniatures to all day. I put on repeat because between that and then go to the internet and have videos of behind the scenes and all the shit that goes on behind the scenes, all the drama. This is my white whale. This is my white boar of Kilfay. This is the thing that you're looking for because it does have a product that pleases me. It's got enough intrigue and drama and tension behind the scenes to entertain conversation for days. And it still causes controversy and discussion today.
Mhm.
I love this film. This is, and I wish that I had the opportunity to meet Sean Connery. He never really came to San Antonio. Okay. So, being that me, a fracker, and not really wanting to travel that much outside of my territory, outside of Texas, if it's within 70 miles, I'll do it. Bruce, we're doing a meetup in Dallas. Have fun. Yeah, just up the road. If there is a big meetup and not meet, okay, we're going to North Texas next year. That's fine. We'll go to North Texas RPG Con, or no, better yet, we'll do Reaper Con because that's miniature con. Fuck Comic Con. We'll do that, but I'm not going to do something that's like moderately in my window of margins of acceptable errors. This movie has so many errors that it is a if I want to hear intrigue and people complaining and gnashing of teeth, this is better than watching like the Joss Whedon post Firefly angry discussion where he had all the cast talking about how they felt like bitter ex-girlfriends that got tossed out by Fox or whoever it was that killed that TV series. I'm telling you, this movie has it all. It has some really good set pieces. It has some really good practical effects. It has even great CGI.
Mhm.
It also has rushed parts of CGI that our chat was just discussing here throughout the
Mhm.
whole time, like all the problems with CGI between the faux version of Hyde and the other various problems. It's falling like dominoes, and it looks like it kind of pixelates out a little bit on a 4K TV. You can see a definite line on. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's a fine film, and better yet, it is a movie you can watch with family or with people that aren't nearly as hard of a cinephobe as I am, and
Mhm.
they would be just fine with it. They would be like, "This is great. Why are you complaining so hard about this movie?" I'm not. I'm trying to tell you, for all these flaws, that's more reasons why I want to wrap my hands around this movie and hug it. It's a great film.
Yeah, it fills a lot of gaps. I mean, even with its flaws, even with its flaws, though, it fills gaps where, for the group of people to watch it, you know what I mean? There's very few movies, like if you were to take someone to see a certain movie and it's a Western, and only people that really like Westerns would enjoy it. Or certain musicals or different things like that. This one, to me, just like you said, it's good for young and old people, men and women. So, because it does have something in it for everyone. I mean, everyone that I know that's seen this movie, none of them said, "Oh, that was horrid," or that was terrible. They all said that was a good movie. That's what they say, even with all the flaws in it. And that's what I'm saying. I loved the costumes. I loved the characters. They made me care about them. It's like I said, if you have characters that nobody gives a crap about, that nobody stays intrigued by it, nobody cares who wins or who dies or any of that, then it's going to be a terrible movie. Even if the movie's bad, but you care about the characters, people are going to like it. See, that's what we've talked about this many times about a lot of the movies. Even if the script isn't very good and the scenery isn't very good actors that do the best they can with what they have, it's going to be a good movie because you make characters that people care about. And I felt like that. I cared about these characters. I wanted them to be successful. And the fact when we find out about the betrayal of Dorian Gray, and the fact that he gets to get what he deserves, everybody's happy about it, So, and the fact that Mina gets to take him out, I just love that. And even the look of horror on her face when she sees him rotting away, I thought that was a really good scene. I just really I just enjoyed it immensely. I just thought, what lover doesn't want to get even with the person that ripped their heart out? You know what I mean? So in a way, as a woman, getting to watch her give him what he deserved, it's basically, he's talking about getting to nail her one last time. He's just a real arrogant asshole. And to see him get what he deserved, I just thought was great. I just loved it. I thought it was a really good scene. It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie between two lovers or ex-lovers, type of thing. And on top of that, whatever happened between them, we don't know because nobody, that's a gap. That's what I was talking about.
I never tell us.
It's and the fact though that he betrayed everyone on the team, by helping him get parts of them to make these kits, to make super soldiers and things. So, all of us were rooting for him to die. So to get to see him get it was for the audience. So that made you even like the movie even more. So I just loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. I love that scene when she gets to take him out in the bedroom. I loved it.
See, the other part about this movie I always find interesting is the fact that you've got the Invisible Man guy. Mm-hmm. And he's not the Invisible Man. He's an Invisible Man because they couldn't secure the rights to the character.
And that's what he said. He stole his formula.
Yep.
Because he supposedly died. Nobody knows whether he died for sure, but he got his formula and became the new Invisible Man, the new and improved version of it. But and everybody, and I liked it because they made him a little smart ass, basically, that nobody really liked. So it made it easy for everyone to believe that he was the bad guy, that he was invisible and he was sneaking around, stealing things and listening in when he shouldn't. And the one scene where Quartermain is working on some books, reading up on different things, trying to prepare to capture the Mr. Hyde or whatever, and then he captures Skinner in there, and he says, "Keep your clothes on when you're around me," or whatever, and he grabs him by the throat and throws him out in the hallway. So that adds to the fact that we believe that he is the one who's sneaking around doing things he shouldn't do. So I liked it. I thought it was really good. It was a believable direction to take the viewer.
Yeah, it was a very believable misdirection by this script. And
the one scene though, later on when they get to M's secret hideout or whatever, and you see how far it is away from there, and Skinner supposedly makes it all the way there without dying of freezing to death while he's completely naked. To me, that was a little far-fetched, but it was still good. It didn't take away completely and ruin the movie for me, so I thought that was funny though. When I watched it this time, I was like, he's got thick skin.
He was a jackass.
Yeah, but it's fun. And then the fact when he gets burned really bad, that I felt sorry for him because he did redeem himself and sacrifice himself because now he's scarred up, so he won't be invisible anymore. You know what I mean? He'll be seen. So, you know, little things like that for people to redeem themselves, like when Jekyll and Hyde redeems themselves by saving all those men from drowning, as many as he could when he rips those vents open. Things like that. I like that. And it wasn't very long. It didn't take long for him to do it. But the fact that he was able to do it in the movie, I just liked it, to see redemption. I love to see that type of thing in a movie. So.
And seeing Skinner get the fact, you know, he redeems himself throughout the film, you know, at towards the third act. By the way, we're talking about spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, this is your damn fault. It's been out for 20 years, and you deserve to see it. The way that he redeems himself, the way that he leads the party to where they need to go to help them and get things back on track, and it makes it to where a very good. This is almost a pre-James Bond film, and they try to set it up like it is, but they clearly don't have the Ian Livingston blessing, so they can't really do that. But they certainly try to point out as many, you know, oh look, another coincidence. Here's this name, and they almost nailed down getting Roger Moore in this movie, and they were going to have him play a Bond character like Harry Bond or Harold Bond or someone like that.
I'm glad they didn't do that, as I thought the way it ended up was good enough for me. They didn't need to add any more famous characters or anything. For my taste, I thought it was just right, rounded off.
Wolf Tin Media, please forgive me. I haven't read the comic in over 15 years. I apologize. I need to buy it for myself, but I have read it twice when I was a younger man.
I do have this comic. Well, I don't have it in my possession, but my dad had these comics. So one day I'm going to go and take him out of his trunk and bring him home.
I'd close the help.
I'm going to swipe them for my daddy, but I want them. And none of my sisters are into any of this stuff, so I have the rights to it. That's what I'm going to tell them. I'm going to go take them.
Yeah, there's a lot of this movie. Like, what's your favorite part of the film? I'm willing to bet it's a Mina scene, but I want to know.
One of my favorite scenes was the scene where she gets to kill Dorian Gray. That whole scene, because she's like all fiery and animalistic. And then my other favorite scene is the one where they're fighting with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And the look of everybody's horror, basically, when they see him, because he's basically like the Incredible Hulk or whatever. That's what reminded me this time. Now, the first time I saw it, I didn't think of that at all. But I guess I've seen so many Hulk movies since then that to see the big, bloody, gross guy later on, that's just his eyes are bulging out, his head's really tiny, and he's just all deformed looking. How gross that was! That was just disgusting. That whole thing. To see that, but that whole scene reminded me of the Hulk. You know, some of the scenes.
Hulk versus the Abomination.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't help it. It's because that's what I've seen since I saw this the first time. But that scene of the fight between the Hulk, or not the Hulk, but and the creature that had gobbled all that stuff down that they had mixed in the laboratory, I thought that was a really good scene. I just really enjoyed that because I liked him. He was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's character was almost perfect for me in my imagination of what he would have been like, a gentleman, a meek man, you know, mild mannered, that doesn't want to do bad, but because he's addicted to the adrenaline rush he gets from being Hyde, he can't help himself. It's just like any addiction. You see it like when he's looking in the mirror and he's talking to himself, you know, it reminded me of, you know, what a person goes through, you know, just like I'm always doing that. I always do the mental point of view, like I did with a bunch of the movies that we've discussed, like Lars and the Real Girl. It's a mental issue, and he is addicted. It's an addiction. It's not like Mina that thirsts for blood because that's what keeps her alive, because she's a vampire, or Dorian Gray is a painting. This is an actual addiction to something, a substance that he has to drink because it turns him into a creature that feasts on others, through beating things up or biting into it or whatever. It becomes a beast, an animal, and it's an addiction. So, and the whole time he's fighting with himself because he knows he doesn't want to drink it, but he wants to drink it, So it's like I don't know. The turmoil that he's going through while he's on the ship to not do it. And then finally having to become the one thing he hates, his addiction, but using his addiction to free himself, basically, and redeem himself. I just thought that whole story around him was just really, really good. So basically, I love Mina because of who she was, the fiery vampire, because of what happened with her and her husband, and then Dracula. But I loved his character the most. He's my favorite Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because of his turmoil for his life and getting to redeem himself and save people's lives using his addiction. Basically, I just like that. I love that whole concept, and I thought they did a phenomenal job considering he wasn't really on screen is a lot. So I thought it was good, and the actor that portrayed him did a great job.
I agree. I actually, the Dr. Heckle moment in the submarine is probably my favorite part of the movie because he's having a Gollum moment where he's arguing with himself back and forth, and then at the very end of it, there's excuse me. At the very end of that conversation, he's basically at no impasse. He's got no ability to really come to a solution, but Nemo's there saying, "You're not going to destroy my ship." Mm-hmm. And he has that implied threat of violence behind it, but he doesn't really lay it down in the most, brutal of phrases. He's a very extravagant man. He's a man of means. He's a man that's traveled quite a bit. He's had the time to reflect on things, so he's got to know languages, and he's got to know various dialects within languages, so he doesn't have to talk like a thug. Nemo talks like a man of sophistry that has had a good life of extravagance. Whereas Dorian Gray doesn't act like that. Dorian Gray is addicted to extravagance, just as our friend Bush has said here. Mm-hmm. But it's just it's a never-ending feast of extravagance for him. He just needs that. And as much as Mina is a monster as a vampire, Dorian Gray is a far worse piece of shit.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it, is the fact that he's been alive for so long that he's indulged himself with all his little whims because he could, and he's abused people. He's abused the things he could have done with his life by being immortal, how many wonderful good things he could have done. But it just shows that his character shows that being gifted something like immortality that Mina had, that how he squandered his for himself, his selfishness, to have nice suits and have a nice house and have nice things and to have sex with beautiful women or whatever it is that he was looking for. That's all he cared about, was his self-indulgence. So to me, that showed character change, and character arc for him was downhill because he was intriguing at first, but then we realized what a useless piece of crap he was, and we all were happy when he dies in it in the end, and Mina gets to take him out. But that Mina struggled, lost her husband and stuff, all because of a selfish, indulgent monster, basically, and he made her into a monster, but she chose to use hers for good. So see, that's her character arc. So I don't know. I just think that they did a really good job at making you care. It's like I said, if you have characters in a movie or a book or any story on TV, a soap opera or whatever that you like and that you care about what happens to them, it's going to be a way better and more entertaining show, whether it's Star Trek, Picard, or whatever. If you care about the people, you're going to want to watch it next week to make sure that, something good happens to the people that you care about. If you don't give a crap about them because they've ruined the character, then you're not going to turn on the TV and watch the show because it's shit. So I don't know how else to do it. I loved this because I cared about the characters. I wanted to see them be successful. I wanted to see them win and save the people and stop the war, the World War. So it made me want to watch it.
This is, like I said, this is my guilty pleasure film. This is in the same line of other guilty pleasure films I've really enjoyed. I really can't repeat that too much more. But the entire scenes, as much as Quartermain is Sean Connery, and we've got a very much Walk to Remember boy that's playing Tom Sawyer. I forgot his name, Shane something or other, and he's not a bad actor. He really should have spent like a week out with some bro vets at a range and hung out and learned how to hold a gun and like get used to that strain on your shoulders, because when he's trying to hold the rifle in the film, he's doing this shit with it, and like he's not able to hold it straight and steady. He's not doing it too well at all.
Yeah, but I can't blame the actor completely on that. The director, the prop people, all the people that were involved in making, in the script supervisor, all those people, that's their job, on set, is to make sure that the people in the movie are given what they need to be believable for their character. And also the director, if the director is filming it and watching it and he sees that, the guy's just not very believable, they would stop and say, okay, we need to do a 24-hour training or something to help him with pulling his pistols out or whatever it is that they see on camera that they don't think is very good. But they didn't. Apparently the director didn't think it was that big of a thing, or he would have done something about it. Maybe the script supervisor or one of the other people said, he's not handling the weapon properly, or he's not doing this or something. But the director said, I don't give a shit. So the director's always right.
That a lot.
So
I've read and heard too many accounts where people were saying the fights that happened on set as people were rushing to their rooms or their wagon or whatever private area they had to grab some scotch and try to forget what just fucking happened with these grown-ass adults that act like children.
Yeah.
I swear, like, this movie has, like, I wish they would have just kept the films going and, just had like whole DVDs, behind the scenes, volume 1, behind the scenes, volume 2 DVD.
I bet they did. Didn't they have a DVD that came out that had like outtakes and stuff, or not?
They have some outtakes. They have some deleted scenes on here as well. They had one where Mina's not being too terribly brutal to Tom Sawyer, but she's not gonna blow him. She's just not being like the absolute, RBF woman that she's normally to him. We're like, oh, being sweet and young are two traits I find very distasteful. She's not like that the complete total time to him, but she is not, trying to make it known that, I am a mature woman. I'm older than what you think, and I don't need to be, accosted by something under 30 with a penis.
Well, that's not how I took it. What I took it as, this young man has no idea that I can rip his head right off. So for his own safety, she didn't want him to get within, a situation where she might, go overboard and drain him, or, of all his blood or whatever. So to me, that's how I looked at it. Because I'm sure she might have been interested. I mean, if there was more time in the movie, they might have had a couple rounds or something. But at the time, they're out in the ocean and there's limited supply of blood or whatever. So she was trying to let him know that, for your own safety, you needed to back off. I need a real man, type of thing. Put him in his place, basically. So that's how I took it. But, someone else might take it differently than that. But that's how I looked at it.
And Jeremy Van Helsing is in October.
I thought it was adorable and very edible.
Janet over here getting ready to pull a Sandy. Why don't you look like a sweet young man? Snarf. Gobble, gobble.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly right. There's a lot of women that would do that. So I'm just saying, in real life, he would have been a morsel to some woman. So thank God he was in a movie. That's what I looked at it.
I just my solutions that I have, I would have looked at the budget and asked for just a couple more days. We need to extend shooting by 2 more days. And the reason why is I need just you 5 or 6 to go away and like grab some scotch and forget about my words I just said, because I'm Stephen Norrington and I'm the shittiest director, according to Connery, in the world. But I need you to just go take 2 days off. You little shit, Shane West. You're supposed to be Tom Sawyer. We need to go to the gun range, and you need to. I'm going to take Arlie Ermy with us, and that would have been my solution. I would have fixed that little shit. Wait, you do not look like you've ever handled a weapon, and he did. I mean, he's the weakest part of the film, and I really hate to say that, but
did you think that maybe the scenes that you saw between him and the young man, when he was showing him how to hold the rifle and all that stuff, and how to shoot and how to pause and to be patient about his shot, that they did that on purpose to make it look like what he knew that this guy wasn't very good with his guns, and that we needed him not to be very good with his guns, so that the whole scenes with Sean Connery would be more realistic? I mean, maybe.
I think those scenes were literally post wrap up scenes because somebody in the editing booth says, Steve, we've got to do something about this. I'm a vet. I can't let this movie go to fucking gold. I can't let them press it and get it to all the theaters. This has to be fixed. We need to add one more scene. One more scene. Just call up Connery. He's still in town till tomorrow. We're going to do a blue screen movie or blue screen shoot. It'll be 3 minutes. It's him teaching this little shit how to fire a fucking gun. And he's going to look like hell. But I swear to God, for all the scotch in fucking UK, I'm not going to do this for you. I will quit my post right now. And I think that happened because this movie.
You're probably right. I mean, honestly, I think you're right. I mean, because you had the scenes on the submarine, and then you had the scenes in the castle, looking out over the frozen tundra, while M is running towards his little nautiloid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
like he's the weakest part of the movie for me. He's like, I get it. We need to have an American person in there because it's the 1890s and we're almost a world power. We're not quite there yet. And we would have a guy on the inside, hanging out, being friendly. We had people that were friendly with Nikolai Tesla. And look, we got a notebook from Nikolai Tesla. Give this to that nice man, Thomas Edison. He knows how to hook it up to a meter. And, we can have people pay for it. Anyway. It's one of those things. I could see the CIA doing something like that with a man like Nemo. I just don't see them having the least competent person with a firearm. The least competent person hold that role. That's just like they had to add that scene after everything else was done. One of the prop masters came forth and was like, "Listen, I'm not letting this movie go. We got to fix this."
I'm just wondering why they picked that actor. Now that you're dogging him so much, I wonder.
I am going to dog Shane West because he.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why they picked him out of all the other young actors that they probably could have picked.
There was a movie that came out a year before about a nice, sweet, romantic tale of a dying woman called A Walk to Remember. And every fucking clam I knew, including the woman I was seeing at the time, wanted to go see that movie because it would be like the Notebook. It's supposed to be like the Notebook. It's another stupid fucking not near Botus Ripper, but just a cry your eyes out lifetime movie on a big screen that every woman with a bleeding heart will want to watch. And the reason why was that he tested so well with female audiences, they figured we'll bring in the Americans and we'll bring in the women with this Shane West kid because we can make him look like a cute Tom Sawyer.
Well, I mean, I thought he was nice to look at. So
there we go.
You know, when I saw him in the movie the first time, I thought, you know, yeah, it's a nice eye candy. But I did read that the guy that played Nemo did almost all of his own stunts.
All of his stunts.
Yeah. So he was very good at it, whatever he did. So
well, he's also a trained martial artist, from what I understand. If he's
well,
not
you
a
can
trained
tell.
martial artist,
You can
if
tell
he's not a
he's
trained
a very
martial
good
artist,
fighter.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you could tell he was a very good fighter in the scenes that I got to see him do it with the sword and everything. So
he studied the Indian martial art. I forget the name of it, but there was Indian martial art that he was taking up at the time because he gets this movie role, and they said, "Oh, you tested pretty good," and so he kind of goes and he does his homework as good actors should. And it's like, well, I guess I should probably train for this role. And he starts, using his natural athleticism, which he's gifted with. And he comes out looking like a really good fighter. And that's why he got me and Bush McFadden really enjoying the sword work and all the martial arts that he does in this movie. Because out of all the fight scene materials that this movie has, there's a lot of shaky cam and sped up footage. This movie is a real bad example of early 2000s shaky cam, crappy editing for fight scenes.
Yeah.
Underworld kind of does this as well, but that's because Lynn Wiseman can't direct a movie worth of shit. And I will never. He
didn't have to. Look who his wife was. He bagged himself a good-looking woman. Lynn Wiseman.
He couldn't keep her. That's all I'm gonna say. And that's the only thing I can say as a bitter clinger. Yeah. But I like if he would have prepared, if he would have done his homework and shot real movies with real fucking fight choreography instead of that sped up bullshit, hey, we got Jason Statham character. We're gonna do every movie he's in with sped up shitty fight scenes, and I can't even watch his movies now. Thank you, fucker. And you'll never hear me fucking recommend The Expendables or any of the other Jason Statham films. And I like the Transporter movies, but I just hate every time he gets into a scrap, the camera turns into this fucking seizure machine, and I can't even tell what's going on. It's just garbage. And then whenever you watch the making of, how'd they do that? Okay, well, here's how they shot this fight. And at the very end, he hits him with this pan. And when he's standing, you can clearly tell in the actual footage, the pan comes nowhere near this guy's skull. Oh, yeah. We'll just fix it in post. Fuck you.
Well, the fact that the actor they got to play Nemo was good at that hand-to-hand combat type stuff with the sword and everything, I thought believable for him because he's supposedly a pirate, right? So what pirate would be a genius at creating a ship that can go that fast through the ocean and have solar panels to charge it and things like that, and be able to do those things and be able to be a pirate if you can't even do hand-to-hand combat? And the fact that I liked it because it made it seem more believable when his men were so obedient to him, because they, all the pirate books and movies that I saw growing up and reading books and stuff about pirates, all the pirates looked up to their captains. Their captains were the ones that were going to help them get the booty, so if you didn't do what your captain wanted, then you wouldn't be able to get the big payoff at the end. So you had to be a good pirate and follow your captain. So I thought he did a really good job. And that's one reason why I said I was very impressed with the actor they got to portray Nemo, the way he looked and the way he dressed as the captain. And I just loved the car and the ship. I just thought the Nautilus was just breathtaking to me. I mean, I just absolutely loved it. I just thought it was one of the best things that they did spend the money on. It made it so believable as me getting to watch it. I just remember how I know I was of it when I first saw it at the movie theater. It was huge on a big screen. It was just beautiful. The scenery, the sunset, and I just loved it. I thought it looked like, and I think it said it was in Prague, where they actually filmed it. It wasn't in Venice.
It wasn't in Venice or London, but they filmed in Prague.
I just think it's so pretty. Everything I've ever seen about Venice is just gorgeous. And I would love to go to Venice one day before I die of old age, because it just seems beautiful. And I would just love to see it and be able to go on to London, all that stuff. That'd be really
all my
nice.
sailor buddies that ever went to Venice, they had to pretty much wear hats, because there's parts of Venice where people still will use a bedpan. And when you wake up in the morning now, if you got a full bedpan, you just kind of look out the window and you look for the people walking on the sidewalk and you try to hurl it towards them. And so, like, you'll be walking along in your finest, and next thing you know, it's like, I got to go back to the ship. I got to go get changed.
Oh, that's gross. But the thing is, in New Orleans, it's almost as bad. But it's on the streets, it's throw up and pee and whatever else, and not because the people are drug addicts or anything. It's because everybody's shit faced. So that's just something you used to, the smell, of that. And they come and they have street cleaners and stuff, but depending on what party city you live by, you're gonna have that kind of stuff. So I guess the area that they do that must not have very good sewage or bathrooms or something. Is that why they have bedpans?
The sewage is a newer addition to their living in Venice. The city used to just not. Okay. It's built on stilts. You really can't get down to the sewers. Can't get Mario and Luigi to build sewers if you got like all the buildings surrounded by water.
Yeah, and that was interesting too. The views that they had, showing you underwater, under the city, because at the very beginning, when you see them sealing the maps or the ground plans or whatever they call those for the underground areas of where the foundation areas are, and then you see the underwater shots of these giant kegs or whatever under there with bombs on them, right? So yeah, she's gorgeous. Is that her?
My dad just sent me the photo of Peter Wilson, and it's like, okay, I know you're watching, Dad.
He's blonde, but she was a redhead in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her now. What she looks like now.
Basically, like that.
Oh wow, she's so gorgeous.
She's only 52. I mean, for crying out loud.
Well, I know, but everybody says when you hit 40 in Hollywood, it's like your career goes downhill, down the toilet. Which I think there's some really beautiful women, that are over 40. I mean, the men always seem to get more attractive as they get older, but it's just a shame.
Thank you very much for that.
About women.
There's a part in this movie where Peter Wilson does an amazing Sean Connery accent. And that's like one of the things that they clear for her to do 30 seconds before they roll tape.
Oh, and yeah, when she's doing the testing on the powder that they found, which, if you can see it laying on the ground in front of where their controls and stuff are, you would automatically assume that someone used a flash. That's what I said when I saw it laying on there the first time. But she had to do a chemical analysis on it to prove that she's a chemist for the movie. So I thought that was good. Okay.
In the book, she's
talking like Sean Connery, making fun of her because it's no such place for a woman.
And afterwards, she's like trying to be all apologetic, and Connery's like, "No, you're great, you're fine." She's like, "Oh, you liked it?" He's like, "Yes, I loved it. It's the worst impersonation I've ever had, and it's going to be in the film. It's great." And she didn't quite understand that, but they all laughed about it. And he's like, "No, seriously, that's not bad. There's work out there."
I thought she did a pretty good job. better than I would have been able to do.
She does a better job than I do.
So I think you did a great job.
Well, they filmed this in the summer of 2002 in Prague, the Czech Republic. It destroyed more than $7 million worth of sets and ruined countless people's lives over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I do remember at the time, because it wasn't Starlog, but it's another, like a film horror science fiction Starlog-ish magazine, and they hadn't made the transition over to digital. But I was reading that at the time, and they were talking about this movie, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to get made into a film. And they're like, well, it's kind of upset everybody. Nobody knows where the sets are at. It's flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that. I'm just kind of browsing through the trivia side of this. Mr. Shaw, I can't pronounce his first name. I could, but it will come out like vomit, and it won't sound good. But he actually did study some martial arts, and I believe one of 6 Nation 31 Kings put this in here. No, not Jeet Kune Do. Shin Sun Do. Even though he was from India, he practices that. And the reason why he did, I believe, is because he says, I'm a pirate. I can go wherever the hell I want and learn martial arts.
Yeah, that's really smart. I mean, he was a very smart man. And I thought he was a very good actor. I bet he had a good acting career there in his country. I mean, do they have movies there?
Yes.
Apparently they had to if he was an actor. Oh, I always think that's funny. I was going to say, maybe I need to go and bite him on the neck. Prove my worth.
Hey, Tiki of Doom. How you doing?
Hello.
Haven't seen him for a while. He's usually in our friend Doomcock's chats. I say it like, oh, yes, Doomcock, our friend. No, I'm just a fan of Doomcock. Doomcock doesn't even recognize my name, which is quite okay. I'm a small guy.
Well, he's gave me a few shout outs. I love Doomcock.
Yeah, but your videos have talent behind them. Mine have a pair of hands and what piece of plastic or metal am I this week? This is a WizKids fig for those of you who want to know. I would like to say that next week we are doing a double feature.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, we were going to be doing the Dead Gentleman Presents the Demon Lake movie, which that's still on the docket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm adding another movie to that, and that movie will be The Gamers Part 1.
I haven't seen it.
Both of these films we're watching are going to be displayed. We'll do a watch party, so hang out in my Discord. I'll give you the location for that Sunday. But we'll be doing the watch party on Sunday of next week for Dead Camper Lake. And
So it's a horror movie?
It's a proto-horror movie. Like, they'd like it to be a horror movie, but their budget doesn't really allow it to be a horror movie. It's a horror movie. It's a movie by Matt Vancel and the Dead Gentleman Productions team. So I'm a big fan of them. They've done some really good stuff in the past. I still try to keep up with them. They kind of fell off for a little bit. I think they're going to come back now. I hope they do. But that's The Gamers is the prelude to one of the best gaming movies of all time. And as much as people say, oh, the new Dungeons and Dragons movie is the best Dungeons and Dragons movie ever. No, Darkness Rising, The Gamers Part 2 is superior to the Dungeons and Dragons movie. And when you watch it with me, you'll understand why, Janet.
Well, I mean, I didn't say it was the best Dungeons and Dragons movie ever. I just said it was a good movie and that I really liked it. And I still like it. I thought the fat dragon was adorable. I clapped at the end. I was so excited because I felt like I was actually in a live game, thanks to you inviting me and letting me play as in your game. And I'm still thankful for that because I love it. It's really fun, and I just love playing. Well, but I have a good imagination.
I really appreciate you being in that game. And there's a lot of my players that they absolutely are enjoying you being there with us. We we are long on patience. It's fine if you don't understand certain rules. We are playing the most complicated game in recent gaming history, and we've brought a new person into the table who doesn't have a background in games. So we're going to have to be patient, because that's just what a good person would do. If you bring a new person into the game, you have to be patient with them, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I think that the D&D movie was a fine movie. The only thing is that there's so many people that are screaming out there, "Oh, it's the best D&D movie ever." It's a fine D&D movie, but I think the best is still The Gamers 2, Darkness Rising. And when you watch that, you'll understand that, hell, you'll probably identify with Joanna, because she's basically one of the people in the periphery of this gaming group, and she gets ensnared in the group. She starts enjoying herself. She has this little journey she goes on as a person that learns the game, and she just has a ball with it. And I kind of see her in you whenever you're playing, and I'm watching that, and I'm like, wow, Janet's really getting into this. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I've always wanted to play. I really have, and I just never did get to because of moving all the time.
For those of you on YouTube, if you don't want to watch me on YouTube, and I'm okay with that. YouTube pays me 7 cents a month. So we're going to share the location, the super secret location of my channel on Rumble. And that way you can.
Would they still put commercials on your stuff if you weren't monetized?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They got to make their money somehow.
They're going to make money off of them anyways. I have commercials on some of my little shorts, which I'm really shocked before I get to even watch it. You have to watch, because I'm never going to be monetized. There's no way I'm ever going to get 4,000 hour views with 30 to 40-second shorts. So it's like, oh, well, YouTube's got to make money.
There's the stream location for this going on over at Rumble right now, which I fully endorse you guys going to Rumble, because Rumble actually does the right thing for its users. When I say that, I mean that if you decide to do a live stream, like Saturday, Janet and her crew played in my Pathfinder game, which is a 3rd edition D&D game. And I'm just
9 hours.
Yeah, it was 9 hours, 28 minutes, and 53 seconds.
It was long.
Long. Very long game. We don't do things half-ass. There's no reason for half-ass.
Because we kick ass.
Yeah, basically we do. And
it's fun, though. It really is. And you're a great dungeon master. I mean, I have anyone to compare you to, but I'm sure that if other people compared you to him, they would say, yeah, he's best. He's the best one.
I didn't start playing until 2nd edition, 6 Nation, 31 Kings. And actually, I was playing basic because it came out with a new shiny book in 1990, 91. And I bought that, or my friend bought that, and I got that book because I was a DM. And then as time went on, I just kept running that in Star Wars D6. My favorite version of Dungeons and Dragons is Rules Cyclopedia Basic. That's the most complete game you'll ever have. And if you ever look at that book, you'll understand exactly why I say it. It takes your characters up to 36 level. It has a campaign in the back of it. It gives you all the monsters you need, all the rules to increase your characters' capacities over time. It has a skill system, which isn't that great, but it tries. Rules Cyclopedia is pretty fucking good. Yeah, even he is like, awesome book. Yeah, we got 632 views on that 9.5 hours that we did on Rumble. We did a live stream and dual stream on Saturday. And Rumble had a bunch of people filter in because apparently I was trending for a little bit, which I've trended. I've been a trending member on Rumble whenever I do stuff. Not that I'm really cool or anything, but if you pay your $10 a month, if you do your best. If you try to have good content, they put you on the front page, which I could
Oh,
do better.
you can pay and boost your views?
Well, until you get like 10 followers, that used to be you had to pay $10 a month. Now I just pay $10 a month just to help out them because I don't mind Rumble. I like what they do. I pay $10 a month to Google to give me no ads on anything Google, no YouTube Music, no YouTube ads, no Google Map ads. I don't want to ever see a commercial.
Well,
And whenever I stop using,
I have 25, I think 25 followers on there now. And I'm trying to really think about maybe just a couple of exclusive videos just for Rumble. But well, because I don't really know that much about it yet. But I'm trying to figure it out so I can move over there because I've got almost 700 videos on YouTube already.
take a while to move all those videos over. Okay, just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
The live stream. Okay. We have been watching right now, according to YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and we had 67 people watch because they throttle views for white men that are straight. And I don't know why YouTube does that. I don't know why they insist on hurting people that we just like Christ and we enjoy a non-Baal worshiping world. We don't like Moloch. We're not into your Satanism, lizard people, child eating bullshit. And I mean, 67 views versus Rumble, where when I do things on Rumble Live, okay, I have to go to my content, my channels. Let's see who's out here. 14.
I think this is amazing how you can do this. I haven't figured out how to do this yet.
When I run, I didn't run. These are all videos that YouTube imported over. But and this is the one from last week where we talked with Wes and Boosh,
Mm-hmm.
the crafting gamer. But Fifth Element, we had 37 views on that show. Is there another channel? I think there's another channel. My content. 632 views for the Outpost Under Our Feet on Saturday.
Wow, that's good.
On the May 7th, you and I talked about helping kids and keeping them away from slavers.
Mm-hmm.
384 views.
Wow, that's really good.
605 views for. Say again.
Do you have comments on there too from any of the viewers?
A few of them. I don't get a lot of comments on my videos. Being a dude, I don't get a lot of comments. If I was a female, there'd be 40 men from India. Oh baby, I love you. Oh baby, call me. Oh baby, do.
I know I get a lot of people from India and Africa.
I don't have a problem with them. I think it's great that they've got the internet, but I just want them to spend their time a little wiser. Did I say that aloud? My bad. I just am saying, I'm trying to show you guys that if I have the same content on Rumble that I do on YouTube, and Rumble gives me views. Rumble throws me out there to people. Now, they don't have the tools that I've seen that YouTube Studio has, where you can track your demographics and how long is each person watching on average, etc. But Rumble does have some really cool things. All right, now that I've done that, and I've given you guys our movie that we're watching, our movies, a double feature of Dead Camper Lake and The Gamers. I'm in Comics Division. Tiki says, I've seen Comics Division on the front page of Rumble before. Yeah. My Paint and Chill stream got on the front page for like hours, and I don't understand it. They've got a really good thing going because they'll take people that have 15 views and they'll put them up on the front page.
What is the front page?
What?
What is the front page?
When you go to rumble.com, that's the front page.
Oh, okay. So when you first open up your app, that's the front page.
Yeah. And if I prefer watching it on the PC because you'll get all the options across the entire thing. and you get all your videos and you have all your categories off the side. But I think Rumble is a better platform. And over time, I see everybody just kind of leaving YouTube, because even my Alex Jones watching friends, even the people I know that aren't really into politics, the ones that don't give a shit about politics or Target being, selling your kids LBGT tuckware.
Yeah.
Even though that they don't care about that, they're still watching videos and like, hey, Red Letter Media just got hit by YouTube and you can't watch this video of theirs. Well, Red Letter Media is a pretty normie channel. They're the most normie movie watchers I've ever seen. And they've got millions of views now. They've got over 1 million subscribers. They're really good. But they did a video on some normie film from the 80s or 90s, and it got struck by YouTube. And so they re-uploaded it, and it got hit again within 8 seconds. Like, wow, you guys are fast, YouTube. And they just, like, even people that don't care about the culture war are seeing how bad YouTube is. And so if YouTube is watching their own program, I would really like you guys to evaluate what you want to have on your channel. Or do you want to farm out crappy videos and edits of CNN and Fox News and all the blonde-haired girls trying to spit out the same news that everybody else spit out from Sinclair Broadcasting? Or do you want to have actual content that was actual content that made your fucking empire here? The independent voices. Because if you don't want those, they're going elsewhere. Yeah, we've had video, we had Odyssey, we've got Rumble now. Maybe Rumble's not built to last.
Can I say something about that? Before I even came on YouTube, I was making little videos and sending them to people, stupid little videos with the glasses and stuff. And someone said, you need to start a TikTok. So when I started TikTok, and I'm almost at 10,000 on there now, I started doing that. And that's when, next thing I know, YouTube started doing shorts, right? So I decided, hey, all my friends are on YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and start a channel on YouTube. But the thing is, I've tried to make a couple videos on here. Like I did one, it was of the earth spinning, and it says it's a wonderful world, right? That song. And I love that song, and I wanted to use it for this video. But it only let me not even have 30 seconds of music on YouTube. That's all they would give me. They wouldn't let me make it longer or anything. But I could make the same video on YouTube, on TikTok and on Instagram, and I could get a whole minute of the same song. So I don't understand why YouTube is so cheap about things like that, not wanting to pay the copyright or whatever it is for you to upload your video and make a video using YouTube, but they won't even give you a minute's worth of music like these other channels, but they expect you to compete with these other channels. I don't see how. And then when you read it, it says you have to have 4,000 hours of view time and 1,000 subscribers. And they want you, they send me all these little things about how to make your shorts more popular and things like that. But the whole thing is I was doing it on shorts, okay? But they don't want to help you get more views by helping you make your videos better. You know what I mean? And expect you to get to be 4,000 hours. It's like they want you to do it because they're going to make money off you anyways, but they don't want you to be successful. To me, it just doesn't seem like an app that actually wants the people to be successful. Now, TikTok is so popular because they have so many different things for you to do with duets and things like that, where you can make a duet with someone else, okay, and use music or whatever and sing along for 5 minutes if you want. You know what I mean? It's just funny to me how TikTok does everything it can to try to make you successful because that's how they make money, but YouTube does the exact opposite. So I don't understand that. And I know a lot of people don't like shorts or whatever, but I tell people, if you could make a couple of shorts and get 5 or 6 people to come to your channel and they see some of your other content and they subscribe, then why wasn't the short worth it? You see what I mean? It doesn't have to be stupid. You can just be you, like Wes. He makes them all the time, and I bet it's helped him a lot. He just walks around and feeds the ducks, or he's doing it while he's in his car or whatever. I just don't see why it's such a bad thing, because it isn't. If it brings traffic to your channel, I think everyone should do a short, at least one, just to say, you know, to have it on your channel, because I think it will bring people to your channel. Now, I'm trying to learn how to do some live streams and things, but I want it to fit what my channel does, you know. You know, I'm not a political channel, so if I had a political show, it really wouldn't fit. That's why I call my Friday night show the Friday Night Shit Show, because basically my channel is a mixture of all kinds of stuff, you know, comic books.
Damn it, you're a political show.
So
it's political, okay? What you
well,
do
it
is
is a little bit, but it's not like Drew's channel or anything like that. It's not focused on that. Mine, I have so many different areas that to me it's not 100% anything. You know what I mean? So I like having a mixture of just whatever I feel like doing, and that's what I do. And if it's not fun, why would I want to do it anymore? You know what I mean? So I think whatever you're doing on your channel, just try to be yourself and enjoy what you're doing. As long as you do that, I think you'll be successful. It might take a while to get where you want to go, but that's what my focus is. And I was so happy when Bruce contacted me and asked me to come on his show and be interviewed or whatever. And then he decided he wanted to do this with me, because I get to do my cosplay. I get to dress up and, you know, play pretend for just a little while, talk about stuff that I love, which is movies, and I love talking. So both things are great. So I love it.
I'm going to shout out your channel real quick, because on Friday nights, it's actually becoming an event for me to go over there and see what you and your sister are talking about, because Bush is going to laugh right now. Whenever we have the shit show, Janet brings her sister on, who we call American Woman, but everybody calls her by her first name. And I grew up with I
call her name.
we try not to, but like I will say, there was a jerk that he was running you down in his comments or whatever. But I would like to see, like, everybody not use the avatars, but just be like yourself, like put yourself out there. If you want to have a towel wrapped around your head, or if you want to look like you just got a shower, if you want to look like you're just on a Friday night drinking beers with friends and t-shirts and jeans, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, your show could actually get some steam behind it, because your friends are funny as hell, and your family. Like, I was watching the show, and it's you and your sister talking for 40 minutes, and the two dudes are there just kind of quiet. They're sipping beer. They're not really saying much. They're not trying to get a word in edgewise. They need to say something. They got the chat they can type in. But it's just Janet and her sister just, and it's the entire 40 minutes. And it's an amazing event. Like, you guys are missing. If you're not there on Friday night, I know that everybody's busy and shit, but watching Janet and her sister go at each other's throat is one of the best times I've had in consecutive nights. And I'm telling you guys, like, it's turning into an event. What she's doing on her channel is a lot of fun. I'm going to put the channel of hers in the, yeah, you want to sub to this, because, and I love Janet to bits. I can just imagine the nightmare it is when you get all 5 of the daughters in the same room.
It's scary. A lot of my friends have come on like Thanksgiving, and I have 4 sisters, and we just all talk, and we talk over each other and stuff. And I try not to do that. I'm really trying hard not to do that to Bruce. And I warned him at the beginning. I said, I can't help myself. I grew up that way, because if you wanted to get a word in edgewise, you just have to start talking. No one's going to hear you. But it was right before Mother's Day. It was 2 days before Mother's Day, and it was my mother's birthday. And I called my sister, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, Sandy, what are you doing? And we were talking, and she goes, I'm depressed. And I go, so am I. And I go, do you care if I call you and we can do like a live stream just to see whether or not I can get it to work? because every time I've tried, I made a fool of myself and I start crying live, because I was just so frustrated. But Bruce helped me, show me how to use and how to do stuff, which is, I know it sounds really bad, but so I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. So I called her, and it took a little while to teach her how to, because she was on her phone, and to get the avatar on it. So I got her on there, and we started talking, and I just named it, welcome to our shit show. So it's saying, because we were both depressed. Our mother's birthday, and it was 2 days before Mother's Day, and she's passed on. So we were missing her. So we just started talking about, shit going on in our family and whatever else, our dad, just things like that. Because my dad was married, within like 7 months after Mom died. So, and it was his fourth wife. So it's like, and he has.
And I'm so sorry, but I've got to say that the tale of your father is one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
We got so many stories with my dad.
I want to shake your father's hand so bad and give him a PBR and slam one with him, because I think he's had a lot of life experience. He's done a lot of fun things, but he is one of my heroes in this world, as he had 5 daughters. If at my old church, if you had 5 daughters, the elders of the church would look at you and wonder what you had done. How had you sinned against God to get?
He's the son of a preacher. That's what my dad did to get 5 daughters. So we talk about that a lot, but I just wanted to be able to just, I don't know, talk about stuff, and it was good. And then a couple people in the chat, and I learned how to put the link, I guess, in the chat, and I just said, who would like to join? So it's Ruben, and I think it was Boosh, and I can't remember who the other person was, but there was a few of them, and we just were all like blah blah blah, just going on, and it was fun, but it helped my sister and I not be so depressed, and it turned out great. And then I started having people say, "Are you going to do it again next Friday?" And I asked Santa, "You want to do it?" She goes, "Oh, I don't know," because she doesn't really even know. She's not into any of this stuff. She's not into comic books. She's not into most of the stuff. And the only reason she's even on Twitter is because I hounded her, because I was like, I got all you sisters and nobody wants to do anything that I like, So I got her on Twitter, and she's really getting into it. She's been suspended like 4 or 5 times because, you've heard her speak. She's a really wild girl. So
Your opinions.
a lot.
She really does.
So it was fun. And so I've had 2, now I've had 3 little shows, and I tried to make it a little more structured, but I don't know if I like it that way. But we'll see. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm just being ourselves. And, and it's not like I'm doing it because I want 1 million people to follow me or anything like that. I'm doing it because I like it. It's fun. And, enjoy it.
The other thing that you can do, well, especially with a Rumble account, you can't really talk about it much on YouTube. But if you're really against child sex trafficking, if you really want to stick it to the elites that want to have sex with an 8-year-old kid, you can go on Rumble and you can put people on blast. You can talk about things. You can give names and dates. You can talk about events. You can talk about the success that Trump had knocking down child sex predator rings. And you're not going to get demonetized or ripped off the internet for it. Rumble actually supports adults being adults and putting bad adults, in prison or in the dead book. They don't want you to go out and commit acts of violence, but they do want an orderly society that values its children and protects them and protects the innocence of children. So if you like talking about things like, I want to continue Western civilization and flushing toilets and freedom of speech and capitalism, you can go to Rumble.
Being men and women being women. That's another thing that is getting harder and harder on this platform. Be able to say that stuff and not get harassed about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rumble for just letting us do that, just letting us talk about things like that, because on YouTube, you put something up like that and you've got to re-upload it like 7 or 8 times in 1 year. There's a movie that you like that, I can't even mention the name of it here because that'll get the channel flag. And that really pisses me off to a degree where I want to travel up to Austin and have just a discussion with some of these wizards over at the Google building and get some things straightened out, because we're in fucking America and Texas of all places. But if you go into Austin with a fucking loaded firearm, they act like it's Chicago up there. So I wouldn't recommend. Yeah, Austin's just a shithole. We need to build a wall around it and flood it. So
turn it
this
into
movie,
Houston.
it's worse than Houston. Like Houston sank pretty far within a short period of time. Since they've had that miserable lesbian mayor they have, they've really hit the skids. Like they're the second worst city in the state of Texas. The worst is Austin. It always will be Austin, and it's just how that is. I mean, Austin.
Do you consider Texarkana part of Texas?
Here's something. We'll do a test on YouTube here. One of our commenters, Bush McFadden, in the chat on YouTube says, Bruce, Texas Rangers just completed a 10-week-long investigation and recovered 336 missing children sold into trafficking by illegals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess it's still up. Wow. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a 10-week. They're not even really throwing a lot of money into that. They're not really trying to overextend themselves. That's just the Texas Rangers, one of the better ran organizations in the state. And I don't look for that to continue, because I see the current way that things are across the nation. And I could see somebody, one of these Soros-backed DAs, trying to ruin the Rangers, or trying to put somebody in charge of them and kind of put the tamp down. Don't be doing that. Why don't you go after white people? Why don't you go after Christians? Or why don't we go after these people at school board meetings? And I could see them switching their agenda within 2 years.
Well,
Sylvester Turner. Okay, they had a lesbian mayor back about 10 years ago. And I don't keep up with Houston. I'm in San Antonio. I'm 3 hours away. But I'm trying to fix this city. That's why I've not left it. I participate in this city's elections. And I'm trying my best to keep it, at every time they've got a vote available, I get involved with that, because I'm trying to keep this damn city purple and get it eventually to magenta, then to fucking violent red.
that would be great, but I'm really worried about it. I'm really worried about Texas and Florida before the next presidential election.
Bush, the problem that I have, and I'm going to let everybody, but what we had an election last year, and the city of Austin, there was a bunch of people we put in power, but for some odd reason, a bunch of committee chairs got given to Democrats. And I don't know why we gave them to Democrats. I don't know why they got involved. Those were supposed to be set up, we put people in power so we could have conservatism kind of be the undercurrent going on here. But instead, we've got problems where, we have these vacancies. Let's put this guy that's got the rules for radicals. We're going to put him in that position. And it's just irritating. Yeah, we're being invaded. I'll shut up. Go ahead, Janet.
Well, how long before Abbott's no longer going to be able to be governor?
I believe he's got an election. There's an election for him in 24. And
he can do it again?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope somebody else steps up, because he's already proven that he's not a real.
He's not a rebel.
He's definitely a rebel. He's definitely a rival.
He is. He needs a primary. He needs to get primaried out. Don Huffines is trying to do some things here in the state, and when he ran for governor last time, he ran on me. I'm going to end the property tax, which I don't know how he'd do it, but he wants to end property taxes, which are just out of fucking control. Now, Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, he's pretty solid. He's a solid fucking conservative. He's actually a Republican. He's decent. This scares me. That right there should scare everybody, because if that's true, that means we have to go to the ammo box, not the voting box.
That's why Soros has been buying up all those ammo companies.
Yeah.
Just like I said, they don't have to take our guns. They just have to stop us from getting ammunition. Which is sad to say. That's why you need to learn how to make your own ammo.
Now, I think Dan Patrick is much more Republican than Abbott, and I think Abbott gets leaned on a lot by Dan Patrick because Dan understands a lot of things about Texas. Abbott's kind of clouded. He's on stage and he's always on stage. Dan Patrick isn't. Dan Patrick's for Texas. He's not for the LBJ style of Texas either. They're changing their lawfare, and Abbott gets a lot of heat from Washington, and he folds. He folds like a Turkish prisoner.
Are you guys drilling in the Gulf still or not?
We have some activity in the Gulf. We've got we've got a lot more activity going on in Midland, Odessa, than what I thought we had. But I don't think we've hit 365 oil fields in play yet.
I heard that China is drilling out there. Is that true? China. I heard that China, because some China companies
in the Gulf, 12 miles off there in the Gulf. Bruce, you're in Houston. I understand that. We've got right now, I think, under 300 oil fields in play at the moment. If you ever get over 350 oil fields in play in Midland, you see the barrel price drop down to about $60 a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever things are right around $45 to $50 a barrel, a lot of mom and pops will apply for business loans to buy equipment because you get two pieces of equipment for $1 million off of the Weatherford or the Baker Hughes or Halliburton sites. And with just a few pumps and some extra equipment like an open top roll off dumpster, you can turn into a backflow professional and go off to these oil sites, and you can make roughly about $3 to $5 million a month. Now you've got to pay that back. You've got to figure out how you're going to pay it all back, and you've got to be able to stay with a group of people that actually can stay within the lines, can color within the lines, because the Railroad Commission is going out there. They are really involved right now trying to shut down these renegade frackers. There's a bunch of actual renegade fracking that took place about 5 years ago. Actually, no one of the companies did renegade fracking. When I say that, I mean that these guys would go out with trucks and they just go to a site and they just drill. They don't apply for permits. They don't do anything. We're on private property. Fuck you. And they would go to work. And then about maybe 3 weeks into that, you'd have people pull up and, lights and sirens, and Railroad Commission get involved, and things would happen. That kind of happened with C&J Energy Services. One of the reasons why they got bought by Nextier was because of one of their guys, a Morin, Morin, out of Robstown, Texas. He took 8 vehicles to a site and he did renegade fracking for over a year. So, yeah, I worked for that company. Not for Booyah himself, but I worked for a company that we got caught doing renegade fracking on the side, and so that's one of the reasons why I went to plumbing. It's just a lot easier. I can see the rules in front of me. I'm actually in the middle of my certifications this weekend, and I've got to get those finished here before Thursday, but I'll get that taken care of. And it's just easier to have a life where you're not anxious all the time looking at the markets, begging for God not to take it down to $19 a barrel because everybody gets laid off. All right, we still got a few people here in chat talking about things. I do want to say thank you again to the people that are lurking out there on Rumble. And for those of you that have stayed with us on YouTube, me and Janet do occasionally stray from topic. Last week we did that quite a bit, but we had a lot of fun last week too, I will say. Before we wrap up this stream, is there anything we didn't cover on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that you didn't mention? Do you want to mention that?
I can't really think of anything right this minute, but I just thought the movie was really, really good. And that if you haven't seen it, or you have any youngsters in your family, I'm talking about little kids, but I'm talking about, young girls or boys that you think are be interested in watching something with Captain Nemo and a vampire and an invisible man and all these different characters. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde all fighting together to fight crime. I think it's a great movie for you to sit down and enjoy with them. So
I agree with that. I think this is actually the perfect PG-13 movie because it has enough action and violence to satisfy you. The gore isn't exquisite. It's not Total Recall 1990. I'll just say that.
Well, it's not just that. It's the character arcs. It's showing that you can redeem yourself. Even if you're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you can still end up doing some good and helping people, and and redeeming yourself in the eyes of the people, or in their own heart for themselves. And I like that. I think that every kid should know what it's like to have a hero growing up. So besides mom and dad, it's nice to have the awesome parents like I had. I was very lucky. I had wonderful parents, and I think it made a big difference in all myself and all my sisters. But and the thing is, I'm the same way with my children, as my mom was with me. That that it's important to have good character and to try to be the best that you can be as a person, as a human being to others. And I think you get rewarded for it. I mean, sometimes it takes a while, but I still believe in it.
If we already talked about my fantasy on this movie, where I was the director or I was the editor, and I forced Huck Finn to be, or Tom Sawyer to have his scene. And actually, the other thing, I would like to have a scene where it actually shows the Phantom killing Huck Finn, because I think that might actually make his character a bit more understandable, because in this movie he doesn't really come off as anything but just like a hard charger.
Well, it didn't really make too much sense to have all these people showing up, right, for this meeting, and then all of a sudden his kid shows up, from the CIA, from America, to help do this. But if they'd had a reason behind why he showed up, something happening in America that causes him to have to come to where they are for the meeting to bring America and show that America's supporting this to stop this world war type thing. But they didn't do that. So it was okay. But now that, after seeing it this time, that was one of the weak parts of the script that we talked about earlier, is about why he was even there and how come he wasn't very well trained, with weapons and things like that we talked about. So that was one thing that I would definitely want to recommend, is that they give him a little more meat for the reason why he was even brought into
that actually kind of opens up a really good possibility where they could have had like a preview movie, or like a
prequel.
And they could have done a prequel where it was here in the States, and you meet the Phantom, and it's Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn and Nigger Jim, and they just kind of do this thing where they're doing their usual life. They are enjoying themselves in America's Midwest, and the next thing you know, they've got this real asshole that has a metal face, and he kind of kills Jim, and then he does that same thing to Huck Finn, and then the movie ends as Tom Sawyer gets off the boat in London, and now we have a situation. I think that would have been a really, if you're going to alter the film from the source material that much, I would have appreciated that a little bit more.
It might have that they did film that scene of Huck Finn getting killed by him, but they didn't add it to the movie. They edited it out. So that was the concept, or they wouldn't have filmed it. So
they I think it's a concept. I don't think they actually filmed it. What they did film and what is on the deleted scenes, there is a drop in quality. It's like a lot of the deleted scenes were basically like the first week on set, and they're just trying to get things squared away, and you can tell there's some anger, or there's some not so good feelings by these people on camera. Like they just had an argument, and the director's like, fuck you, roll them, lights, camera, action, and gets it right there in the heat of their anger, And a lot of these deleted scenes are not that bad. They're just not that good. That's the problem that I have. It's with more context, they would be passable, or with an additional scene, they'd be valuable. But they kind of aren't. And I hate sounding kind of bitter or butthurt about this, but I really wanted more, because the more I watch this movie, I think of all the possibilities. This is one of those movies that you watch and you think of all the things. You have the movie playing in your head. When you have all these figurines in front of you, you can basically, if you want to play with your dolls, you can. You can have an entire script in your head. You can RP all this with the funny voices, and you do that. And that's the one great thing about RP, with or without rules. That's just one of the things of life. I mean, you watch your kids do that when you buy them Barbies or Star Wars figures. They do that. They make funny noises. They try to act brave, or they try to have a fight or a resolution as best as they can. And that's part of growing up. That's really cool. But when you have a movie that fulfills you like 80%, but there's 20% in your head that would be so much cooler. Just add this. And you start playing with it in your head, and you start writing a script in your head of how the movie could be perfected. That's part of the love of this movie, because that gets under my nails so much. It's that itch I can't scratch. They could have done so much more with this movie. If they would have gone towards the comic and done that, I would have been happy.
See, I printed this off. It says TV Tropes. It's a channel. And I was looking for deleted scenes or deleted takes, whatever. And it says a scene was cut from the film where Tom Sawyer explains that he and his friend, Agent Huck Finn, were tracking down the Phantom, and that the Phantom killed Huck. This is the reason why Sawyer was so intent on getting the Phantom. And then there was another part where it says deleted role. A brief fight scene featuring Tom Sawyer and the replacement character was rotoscooped into the film. The deleted scenes, which featured Draper, appear on the DVD. So there is a part on the DVD. That's why I said there was a scene.
Hold on. Draper, you said?
Do what?
What was the guy's name?
Draper. From what this paper says, it says the featured Draper appear. Eva Draper, Winter Zoel, or whatever is the name of the actress. But the thing is, so they did have it in the film, but they took it out. So I don't know why they chose to take it out, but the fact that they did put it in there, they did try to make it, give him a better reason of why he showed up. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I just couldn't remember the part, because I printed this out because I was trying to get that. And that's the same stuff that had, some of the things about the fighting scenes and stuff for the Nemo.
This irritates me, because I'm looking for the Huck Finn death. Let me see if I can pull it up with Huck Finn, because I looked for Draper.
Draper didn't come up.
Nope. Oh. Damn it.
Yeah, see, that was the from the Van Helsing movie. Was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I didn't think that version was as good as the one in this one. I like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from this movie way better. Golly, I wish I could do all that stuff that you're doing right now. I wish I knew how to do
and go over to
and do all that stuff like you guys are doing. I got to learn how to do all that so I can add.
It just within a month you'll be fine. You'll be able to do it. I'm irritated that I don't see it. And Bing is usually my repository of videos I can usually find. I pull Russian videos. I
You
pull.
can pull the stuff that's off the DVD. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking
That's
for
what you
things.
look for, deleted scenes from this DVD or whatever. That's what I type in. But I'm not a pro.
I'm not a pro either. Okay. Come on. I don't want to get struck by YouTube on this. Let's see.
As long as you talk over it. I mean,
Yeah, that's usually how it works. I'm looking for. Nope, they don't have any. Damn it.
well, type in Huck Finn deleted scene or whatever and see if that comes up.
Hold on. There we go.
Sorry.
I'm trying to scrub through here, see if I can see something.
I think it's so funny. This scene was funny because of the awkwardness of Skinner sitting in the middle of them two.
Yeah, it looks like.
And basically gets his head pushed back, like, get the hell out of the way. I thought it was funny.
I'm not seeing Draper on here or Huck Finn. I've got this where they're on the Nemo.
Yeah, on the ship.
On the Nautilus.
Yeah.
That's where he's explaining right there, the 942. He's explaining the death of it. But I thought they would have an actual scene of Huck Finn.
No, it's just him talking about it. But the other is on the DVD. It says it appear on the DVD. It says a brief fight scene featuring Tom Sawyer and the replacement character was rotoscoped. What does that mean? Into the film. The deleted scenes, which feature Draper, appear on the DVD. And that's exactly what it says. And this is from a website called TV Tropes.
Okay. Yeah, that's just some small niggling parts of the film that I really like, but it gets under my skin because this film could have been fantastic, and I think a lot of us agree with that. This is still going to be a guilty pleasure of mine for years to come. It's nowhere near my perfect film, but is this a movie that I can put on and just disengage my brain, eat a bucket of popcorn, and be happy with? Absolutely. And I want all of you guys to have a hobby that lets you enjoy cathartic joy like that. I do this every week where I paint miniatures, and I do this. I just put up 70 of them on the shelf that were in the big tray. So we're going to start with a brand new tray to fill up. No miniatures in there. We're going to be working on putting those other miniatures I just varnished today into my games. So if you follow my game streams, you'll see some familiar figs you've watched over the past year get painted up and be put into play and scare the hell out of my players because they're getting to that level where the character abilities can get ridiculous, and I think that's fun.
And you're going to have somebody there soon that's going to take some of them home with them. I guarantee that.
That happens. You have enough figures, though. I have enough figures to where if somebody wants to take one or two home, I'm not going to get that upset. Take 50 home.
If I ever get to come, I'm going to say, I need this one. I need this. And I'll make you paint your name on the bottom of them too, so I'll have them as collectibles.
You are invited next Saturday when we do our live gaming to come up here. If you need There's a hotel across the highway here, and running over there, grab you from the hotel to bring you over here is not a problem. I've got a parking pass that's going to be going to our friend Big Greg. Big Greg will be taking care of the logistics for our friend Chris and Little Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have 4 people live at the table, and then the other 3 or 4 would be streaming from their homes, probably across the United States. But if you
Well,
want to,
it will definitely have to be after my chicks are grown,
okay,
because I've got to, I've got to take them and put them in and out of their coop and all that good stuff right now still.
fair enough.
But
We'd have a blast. I know that much. I appreciate you for joining my game and for being the friend I have. It really means a lot to me.
well, I feel welcome. I feel very thankful that your at the time fiance saw me on TikTok and thought I was funny.
Yeah. And want to appreciate my chat who've been here with us the whole time in this last 2 hours and 20 minutes. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of discussion changes, bunny hills, bunny trails. Me and Janet are going to be back next week with a double header of a film review and discussion, because I think there's enough in those 2 movies to actually fill up some discussion time. If somebody recommended me Dead Camper Lake, the Demon Hunters movie, get a hold of me, because I believe somebody recommended it. They didn't super chat, but I still want you there on Sunday. We might bring you in on Monday if that's okay with you as well. Janet, before we end the chat for tonight in the stream, would you like to say anything else before we are gone?
No, just thank you for joining us. It makes us feel like we're doing something that people like when people actually show up, because I would do it anyways, even by myself. But it's nice to have interaction and to get to have other people that enjoy listening to what we have to say about it, and maybe give us some good information about what they think about it too.
She said interaction, guys. Stop blowing my phone up. Interaction, not erection. Interaction. The erections are great too, but interaction.
But yes, thank you very much, and
I love my people.
I hope you come back next time.
I'm almost to that point, everybody, where if I could give you each a beer from my half pallet of trail ale, and I would be out of beer. But I appreciate you all being here, both all of my Rumble viewers and all the individuals that have come here on YouTube. I thank you so much. We will be here next week, and I will promise you we will be on time. I thank you so much.
Thank you.